And so here we are on the fifth Sunday of August. And you and I have had a lovely August if we've been following the invitation that we have been given every week to just relax, release, let go, and let God by means of each one of us. And to be consciously in our evolutionary movement through this life. One with it, trusting it, relying upon the presence within it, and knowing never to judge anything by what appears to be. It's like, don't judge the book by the cover. Don't judge the person by what they're wearing, where they live, what they do for work. Because remember, it's all God. Everything and everyone, it's all God. So why would you and I want to even enter into any kind of judgment when we know that? It's an amazing thing to wake up in the morning or one morning and know it's all God. Even if you only know it for half a minute. It changes you forever. Forever. And if you can know it for half a minute, you can know it for a whole minute, etc. And it accumulates. It's a nucleus that accumulates energy around it, and when it has enough energy, then the full force of that energy enters into us, and we become awake and aware. And when that happens, you say to yourself, well, that was no big whoop. It's just you come to yourself like the prodigal son did. Now, Ernest Holmes always invited the individual to take charge of their own lives, to feel the empowerment of spirit within them, and not be waiting for somebody else to empower them. And God knows I've been through many experiences in my lifetime as far as spiritual practices and so on are concerned. And so when you're introduced to all these great beings and these great gurus and these great spiritual leaders, you know, varies and sundry, like, for example, the Dalai Lama, and everybody can't wait to get near the Dalai Lama to catch his eye or to get his blessing, and God help us all the delight if he gives you a scarf. Think about it. We're all, or have been, inclined to give great credence to all of that, with all due respects to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all the other great gurus and leaders and teachers that I've had the pleasure of being blessed by. And yet, the underlying teaching in every single solitary true religious principle says, bless yourself, acknowledge yourself, and when you do, you will be a blessing to everything and everyone just by showing up. Without any great thing in mind that you have to do in order to save the world. You don't have to save the world. Thanks be to God. We don't have to save the world. Look what's happening today, even when a few of us think it's our job to save a world. It's not. It's our job to safeguard the awareness of truth within ourselves. And once we do that, we're able to acknowledge it in everybody else too. It's amazing the way that works. It's our job to stop the nonsense around our own thinking and feeling about ourselves. To stop berating ourselves every turn and twist because we're not this and we're not that and we haven't got this and we haven't got that and they have this and I don't have that, and all of that nonsense. A waste of our time and energy on this plane. The only job you have, the only job I have, is to come home to myself and know myself so that the truth of myself can set me free of all of the nonsense and I can be just what I am. And there is no agenda that comes with that. None. There's no honey-do list that comes with that. Just being yourself is more than enough. And it only takes a few individuals on this planet to be themselves to keep the whole thing from imploding, thank God. It's a very small number, it seems. That seminal number, that quantum number, is probably much smaller than any of us can imagine. But mark my word, there are those amongst us who are awesome lights and awesome troubleshooters and are keeping an eye on us all so that we don't far outreach what we could in order to whatever. And I'm not even going to put a description on it because I don't believe that anyway. But you and I are an amazing people, and we are amazing individuals sitting in these seats and looking in through the miracle of television. So what is it going to be if we're supposed to now rise up now and know yourself and let the truth of yourself set you free? So the question is today, will we rise up now or not? We'll just keep kind of moseying along, hoping for the best. Hope is the beginning of the rung of the ladder of faith. It's very weak by comparison to faith. Faith is able to look in the face of anything and say, you're not the boss of me. You're just not the boss of me. And you don't have the kind of power over me that you might think you have. You don't. Whether it be a person, place, thing, or a condition, or whether it be your own small self. Your own small self is not the boss of you, unless you allow it to be, and most of us do, too much of the time. My conditions are the boss of me, my circumstances are the boss of me, my relationships are the boss of me, my health is the boss of me, and it goes on. And it doesn't have to be like that. Rise up in what? Consciousness now. Now is the moment. Now is your time to whatever, because you can only whatever now, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Aren't you tired of hearing that? I'm tired of telling it to myself, but it's the truth. Your power is right now, and it's in this day, it's in this moment. And yes, some of us are going through all kinds of circumstances and situations we'd rather not be going through. But they are circumstances, and they are situations, and they are conditions, and they're not the truth. Don't make them your truth. Don't agree with them. Don't feed them. Don't empower them. Say, interesting that this should happen right now. Wasn't expecting it. Didn't invite it. Or so we think. So now what do? Well, I roll up my sleeves and I say, you're not the boss of me. And then I treat and I move my feet. I pray and I move my feet, as the Quakers used to say. Pray and move your feet. That's where we got that, from the Quakers. Pray and move your feet. What does prayer mean? It means a certain way of being, a certain way of thinking, a certain way of feeling, a certain outlook. It's a state. Prayer is a state, and it's not just something that happens when I pray. It used to be that thing set apart from everything I remember as a small child. It was the holy, holy thing that you did, especially. It was so special, so apart from everything else. And it's not, it's you. Prayer is you in action. And there are all kinds of prayers. Effective prayers, not very effective prayers, very effective prayers. I mean, really, just look at us. We're all the indication of our prayer life. What we think of ourselves, what we feel of ourselves, and how we treat ourselves. Yes, we're putting the responsibility fairly and squarely where it belongs. And that's not something we always like to do. And as somebody said to me, I cannot take this teaching any longer. I have to go back to my whatever. Because I need something or someone to blame. Very honest about it. And when I get out of that, I'll be back. We need to stop needing something to blame. Now, self-awareness is what this week is all about. Self-awareness is that ability to be able to self-monitor, be self-motivated, to be able to dial into our inner dialogue, see what's going on, and to be able to contact those hidden beliefs of ours and see what needs to be rooted out. A little bit of spiritual gardening needs to be done every day in our minds. All the gardeners will tell you oxalis is a you-know-whatsa to get rid of. It keeps coming back. So the invitation is, as it was in the beginning of the month, as it was in the beginning of your life, as it always will be, know yourself. To know yourself, you have to tune into yourself, engage with yourself, be in relationship consciously with yourself, and know that you yourself is the most significant and important person in your own life, and that your relationship with yourself, again I'll say it, is your primary relationship. And everything else is influenced by your primary relationship, the one you have with yourself. Know yourself. How many of the great minds have said that? Know yourself. The truth will set you free about yourself, etc. And it doesn't have to be a heavy, morbid thing that you have to do. You don't. This is something you get to do. I get to do. And it can be very exciting. Very exciting. It can be very energetic. Instead of dragging yourself into your meditation chair or whatever. Okay, oh, I can't wait to get to go now and be in my own company. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So this self-awareness thing is something that's always going to be with us until it becomes us. You get that? You know, we're always going to hear about it, and it's either going to annoy us or encourage us again. Oh, not that again. How come this teaching is always the same thing? Yes, it is always the same thing, because there's only the one thing. Man, know thyself. There is only the one thing. And the thing about that is when people leave because they say, oh, well, it's always the same thing, it's because they don't want to face the one thing. They don't want to keep working on the one thing. They don't want to really and truly bust out of all of their limitations and realize I don't have to live in a limited way anymore. I can be free. There's just so much within us that is so eager for us to recognize and to use. Recognize and use. Always there is that inner voice nudging us, nudging us, nudging us, nudging us. One way or another. In the beginning it's very gentle, but then sometimes it's just a kick up the rumpus until it catches your attention. And then when you're in a challenging situation, what do? You return to the truth that you know will set us free, provided we do what we're asked to do in that relationship. Be attentive, be connected consciously. And the thing about this journey back into the self, back into where we once belonged, is that when you're in it, on it, there's no time and no space and no place for being preoccupied with everybody else's stuff. You searching for your own truth will not allow you the kind of what seems to be the luxury of figuring out everybody else's life and deciding what everybody else's problem is, etc. There's no time for that. You don't even go there in your mind anymore. You're just so centered on being the best of who and what you are. There's no room for any of that. You can look at things and look outside of yourself. Yes, it's interesting. Look at the world that we're living in today. And please, when you see all these terrible situations that people are finding themselves in, what we would usually call disasters and tragedies and all of that. Do not go into fear, and don't go into sorrow and sadness for these people. Stand back and stand away from that and see everyone who's in those terrible, dire circumstances with the ability to rise up out of those circumstances and set themselves free. They need every bit of strength and energy they can get right now, and you and I being scared and afraid for them is not going to do it. We have to know something more for all of these individuals and for all of the circumstances that are happening in the global scene and in the climate and everything else. Instead of going into horror, instead of going into judgment, instead of going into fear, instead of going into squishing yourself and feeling, oh my God, it's doomsday, or whatever. Say no. You roll up your sleeves and you say, oh, you know, above that, within that, around that, and about that, that which is the one is so much more awesomely powerful than any of these circumstances that are going on today, whether they be in my personal life or in the global life or in creation's life. And then you know that for those individuals and for those circumstances and situations. You go into peace, you go into quiet, you go into stillness. What you do is you go into the presence. And in the presence, there's only the presence. And there's nothing unlike it in the presence. It cannot be where the presence is. The presence is always whole and perfectly itself. So nothing unlike itself can enter in, and that's why we use the analogies in Scripture and so on. Leave your shoes outside before you enter in. Your shoes is your small, scared humanity, especially your ego. And then enter into that presence, and just being in the presence will bathe you in light and life and love and peace and beauty and power beyond any description you could give. And you will feel your whole self. You will feel your connected self. You will feel what it is to be one with the one. Indeed, you will. But you'll never feel it until you do what it takes to offload all of the stuff that weighs us down from our humanity and its experience. It has to go. Every single last icky bit of it. All the false notions you have about yourself and other people. Even though you can say to me, but I have proof, I've seen it, and so on. No, you've seen an appearance. You haven't seen it. Because if you had seen it, you would be seeing spirit. You felt a human experience in response to a human whatever. Now we can stay at that level and keep trying to sort ourselves out at that level. And so far, how has that worked for you? I know it hasn't worked very well for me. What we do is, that's real prayer. Real prayer is entering into the presence. It doesn't require gifts. It doesn't require a honey-do list. It doesn't require words of any kind. It requires a conscious connection in breath. Breathing meets breathing when we enter in. We breathe ourselves awake into the realization, I'm in the breath of life. It's in me. I am a pulse in its pulse. I am a breath in its breath. I'm one with it. I'm perfectly at peace. There is nothing for me to ask for. Here I am whole. Here I am myself, capital S. All I have to do is feel love. Feel love. And so when you really think, oh my God, that person needs a prayer, I'm going to pray for that person. What you do is, you just say the name of the person, and then you go in deep into yourself and allow yourself to feel united with Spirit. And what the feeling of that is love. And you know, in the feeling of the presence and its love, you're acknowledging it in the one you're thinking about, or the ones you're thinking about, or the condition you're thinking about. It's as simple as that. It's as simple and as very difficult as that. Because you and I are used to saying 3 Hail Marys for this one, 4 Hail Marys for that one, doing a treatment for this one, doing a treatment for that one, saying these many aspirations for this one and this, and good deeds for this one and that and the other, and offering up and so on. It's beautiful, it's lovely, and it gets us open to where we can just know the presence in yourself, and in knowing it in yourself, you're going to know it in the other one. It's the most healing of all things, integrating of all things. But don't take my word for it, test it out. Now, it's going to take a while to get used to just not feeling that you have to do something, say something. Just be, and then your faith will deepen, your faith will grow. And you will always, never again, be scared or frightened of anything that you're told. Because you will hand it over, give it up. As the children say at the end of their prayer, over and out. Instead of, I release, they just say, over and out, God. And that's where you and I will get. And so when this happens, and you may think it's a lot of time in yourself, you'll find your relationships with everybody else changing into an honoring and an appreciation and an acknowledgement that as it is with you, it is with each and every one of us. There are flashing lights up and down the yin-yang at me right now saying, your time is up. You know what? We all should have at home a light that flashes at us and says, okay, your time is up now. Enough of all the nonsense. Jump out of whatever state you're in and get on with your life. People are depending upon you. Life is depending upon you. You didn't come in here to moan and groan and bellyache. You didn't come in here to feel you weren't this and that and the other. You came in here to serve and put something on the table. Now get up off your backside and get out there and do it. See? You want that light coming at you like that. And it's very irritating, so we'll get you up, we'll get you moving, and we'll get you working. And so, my dear ones, it's a joy to be with you today and to be continued. And let me tell you, I didn't even start the talk I had prepared for you yet. Aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky? Or we'll be here until next Sunday. And now, of course, it's that time when we're going to celebrate our fullness and acknowledge our abundance, and we're going to know that you just can't outdo God in generosity, try as you might. Give as much as you can give, and it's going to come back at you, pressed down and spilled. At least that's my experience. So I can only speak from my experience. So, and again, we give with a joyous heart, and please don't ever give anything if you're a little bit afraid of giving it, if you're scared of giving, if you're thinking, oh, don't. Wait until you're free of all of that and you can say with glad heart and enjoy, I can give this. So let's take our gift, hold our gift between our blessing hands and say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, to prosper. All who give and all who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love. And so it is. Thank you. And now, Reverend Catherine is back again to share something wonderful with us.
This is the time in our service where we share with you our mission statement and a report from our members about how we're meeting it. The mission statement is to honor your presence, to nurture your spirit, and to enrich the lives of all we serve. And this is the message for today. I recently had a death in my family. It was a shock, and it was too soon. I am grieving the loss so very much, but I very, very much appreciate the prayers that I know that are supporting me. I can breathe in, and I can feel the support. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you so much for that sharing, whoever it was that shared that with us. We really appreciate you sharing, your sad moments as well as your joyous ones, because this particular kind of moment is one we can all identify with. So let us know that that person is getting every single thing that they need in order to move through their grief gracefully, and that they can feel the blessings that come from the other side in times like this, because they do come. And of course, as you know, love once giving is never removed, always remains. And love once giving always goes with us wherever we go. So the connection is always there, always. And that's a cold comfort to begin with, but it becomes a great comfort later on. So thank you for the sharing. Now, you and I know there are all kinds of challenges not only in our own lives, but in our world. And some of us are really being super challenged right now. But when we see that, when we hear about it, we're not going to get scared, frightened, afraid. And not only about people, but about our beautiful world and what's happening in nature too. When we hear things like that, we're going to not be afraid and understand that Spirit in everything knows exactly how to take care of everything, if enough of us will acknowledge it. And it only takes that quantum number, enough of us acknowledging it, so that this beautiful blue-green gem of a planet can indeed be all that it's created to be, and the people on it can indeed be all that they were created to be, unified, united, and one. So this really is for peace within ourselves, and peace on our planet, and peace in all of creation, and unity, harmony, and oneness too. So let us pray. I know divine love enfolds me, divine light leads me, divine life lives in me, divine wisdom inspires me, divine compassion expresses through me, and divine power protects me. All that I am is Spirit's life and expression. It is good and very good. With deep joy and generosity filling me, I go forward now in sacred service, supporting a compassionate world that works for all. By means of me. So let's give God a good time, shall we? Indeed. So have a great good week for yourselves, and just know how important you are, truly how important you are. No matter what you're feeling and thinking is about yourself right now, you were chosen specially to be here right now at this time, and you're essential, to say the least. So be your essential self in your own life and out in the world. And know that you're loved, you're prayed up all the time, and you're very much appreciated. Just keep knowing that. And, I know you're all going to be a helping thought wherever you can be a helping thought. We're going to have our peace song now, and we are going to sing softly as we open ourselves up to that peace. And since I don't have I left my mask next door, I'll just mouth the words myself. So let's do it now. Let peace reign. So it is, my dears. There will be refreshments out on the patio, so I'll see you out there, dear hearts. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your support. Bye, everybody on camera, and to the children.